Hi, today I'm going to demonstrate for you the program I've been working on for CS326 at the University of Massachusetts. This is a Twitter-like program that uses JavaScript and Node.js. So right now, there is no connection. So we're going to launch the program, and it's now listening on port 3000. And we should be able to connect it. The program is going to first direct us to the login screen. If we try to go to a different page, it's going to redirect us back to the login page. We can access the registration page and the login page. Since we're not logged in, that's all we're allowed to do. We can try accessing a page that does exist, and it'll redirect us back here. So first, let's register a user. Let's say user 8, Jeff Scott at email.com, password of 8, and password of 8. So it created the user, and the user currently has no messages, no followers, and is not following anybody. So the current implementation, there's no search option to find other users. I've made other users, so I know that other users exist. I can go to user 1, and user 1's page will load. It dynamically loads the 10 most recent Twitter feeds memo feeds that are made by that user or that user follows. So we can see user 1 here, we see user 4 and user 3 and 2. So that would imply that user 1 is following user 2, 3, and 4. And we can click following and it'll show us exactly who that user is following. So if I go back, I can follow this user, and if I go back home, now I see this user's tweets or memos on my home page. I'm following one user now, whereas before it was 0. I have 0 followers, nobody really wants to follow me, that makes me pretty sad, and I don't have any memos. So if I go back to user 1, and then I go over to user 3 now. User 3 has 6 memos, 3 followers, is only following 1 person, which happens to be user 2. So if I click on memos, it'll show me the 10 most recent memos that this user made, but this user only made 6, so it's only showing the 6 most recent. If I hover over their names, the div tags change. So that uses jQuery call to sense whether my mouse is hovering over. If it is, it changes the CSS for that particular area. And when a page loads, it scrolls down each user or each memo one at a time. It's not exactly practical, but it's kind of pretty. So on my homepage, I have a posting option. If I go to somebody else's page, I can't make a post. So if I decide to make a post, this is my post, and press post. It will populate this area and push all these down, and this one will disappear. So I can show it again. Awesome new post. This one, I will make memos too, is going to go away. And it went away. So that is using Ajax to take in my text area content and to push it directly below the div tag that all of this is surrounded in. So it's an append option. And there's another jQuery call that calls the last element that is matches this class and removes that after hiding. So that's why I can continuously post. And new ones won't be added to the bottom. So now I have 3 memos. I can click memos and see my 3 memos. So all of those are using different database calls, different query calls to find out that information. So I have database that works with it. And you can see this user 8 that I just added and the memos. User 8, this was, a minute ago. And the follow intersection table to see who's following who. So I can go back and I can sign out and I can log in as a different user and have their information here. These 2 buttons currently don't operate, and if I go to a URL that doesn't exist, it will redirect me to my home page, and if I try going back to the login page, it redirects me back to my home page. The information here, we have our user, our first name, our last name, our email address. Also, if I make a memo, just another memo, and post it, this increments from 10 to 11. So incremented to 12. I can go to user 8 and I can follow them and go back home. Now I'm following one more person, and I can see user 8's comments on my home page. So there's some other functionality, like if we try logging in with an invalid user, we're going to find that that user doesn't exist. Maybe we try logging in with a valid user, but we don't have the right password. So as you can see there, the page reloaded for that. At this point, I would go back and change those so that they would use AJAX calls and prompt the user beforehand that their information is not correct. Same thing with the registration page. If they're not putting in correct information or their passwords don't match or they leave a field blank, using AJAX, we can notify them beforehand that they're doing this so that they can change it. Same thing with following a user or unfollowing a user even. I can, right now, you can see it reloads the page. Should be easy to implement AJAX there as we did with the posting. Other features to add would be a search option so that you don't have to know that a user exists to go visit that user. Search bar would be easy to implement as it would just call a particular query that involves the word like. So user that is whose username is like this, or look for posts that are like this. Other functionality would be able to delete your own posts. Right now you can't delete your own posts, but because of the way the database is set up, with memos. Each memo has an ID, so it would be relatively easy to make a query call that says, find the memo with this ID and just delete it. Or if we wanted to, alternatively, we could have another column and have it be a true or false hide column. And instead of deleting the entry, we could hide the entry, which we probably would rather do than delete information. So that about wraps it up. This is Memento, and thank you for taking a look at it.